transformative justice. By continuing to normalize police as a necessary part of our life, our communities are being cornered into relying on an institution whose rate of killings have not slowed down, even though the global pandemic has slowed work down for almost everyone else. For us as educators in South King County, it's important to name that if Labor Council, and this includes the delegates who are voting later tonight, aims to be a space that unifies all labor organizations, and they cannot continue protecting police under the banner of labor. We cannot actively build working class solidarity within Labor Council while a racist institution like the police continues to receive the support of that council. The families and young people that we work with and have, as educators, have faced police brutality that rarely hits the news. As educators in South King County, many of us carry the stories of families we work with, of Black and brown people who have been murdered by police, whether that was on New Year's Eve while on their way home or the night before graduation. These incidents leave long-lasting impacts on our communities. And yet, the racial trauma that our communities face is minimized by the continued normalization of police as a necessary part of life. As communities in the Highlands School District begin to organize to sever ties with the Sheriff's Department to remove school resource officers, we hope that a broader labor movement will show up and support in that fight in South King County. This is especially important for us because as High Court, we understand that modern education is rooted in the colonial history of public schooling in this country. We want to combat that by locating teachers as workers, accountable to communities that we live and work in. This is why a few weeks ago we passed a resolution in our union calling for the expulsion of SPOG, and we know that we must continue pushing on our unions to move away from that savior charity model intrinsic to colonial schooling and instead build working class solidarity with families that center our shared interests. Police, on the other hand, have shown us that they are often at odds with the interests of our communities. What organizing to remove SPOG has shown us is that there is a sense of urgency among BIPOC union members to work towards radical change. At this point, the BIPOC petition that we pushed out has gathered over 856 signatures, and we know of at least over 500 emails that have been sent to MLK Labor Council calling for the removal of SPOG. It's time that Labor Council and its delegates show their investment in Black futures by removing SPOG.
Next we have UWHA and Decriminalization Seattle, Decriminalize Seattle, Rico, and Ayana. There you go.
How's everybody doing? Can you all hear me okay? Maybe I got a little too close. Can everybody hear me okay?
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Rico. I am the Associate Director of UWHA, the union that represents medical residents and fellows at the University of Washington. I'm here with my friend Ayan, who's a member of SEIU 1199 Northwest. And we're both organizers with Decriminalize Seattle, the coalition that put out the 3 demands a couple weeks ago in response to the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And I would like to repeat those demands for everybody in the crowd so you all know and have them in your heart. That is, number 1, defund SPD. Number 2, invest in community care and health and safety for Black and brown communities, and that looks like emergency housing and services. Number 3, can somebody say it for me? Number 3, free them all. Thank you. Free them all. All protesters, drop all charges. Thank you. What we've heard from the labor community has been a 4th demand, that is to expel SPOG from the MLK County Labor Council. We know that SPOG is a racist organization, no matter what they try to say regarding the council's demands to declare themselves an anti-racist organization. We know that policing is a racist institution with racist roots, specifically rooted in anti-blackness. We also know that cops are not workers, and that cops have contributed to all kinds of violence against the labor movement in the past and presently. For example, police have been involved in union busting, in the violent disruptions of picket lines and labor protests, in the murder and imprisonment of labor leaders, in the caging and forcing of prisoners to replace striking workers. What we know is that for the labor movement to grow and become revitalized, it has to stand with Black power, it has to stand with abolition, and it has to stand with the communities that bring that forward. So I'm gonna shut up now because I want to give the mic over to my good friend Ayan here, so that you can all listen and learn to some of the wisdom she's about to drop. Thank you.
I don't know if it's wisdom, but I know it's bought experience. My mother calls bought experience anything that happens on your back and you didn't ask for it. And with this bought experience, it really comes down to me being a black woman. Because at the end of the day, whether I'm a union member or not, I show up as a black woman. And, you know, liberal Washington, I'm going to need everybody to wake up with me. Please understand, black people don't need you to protest no more. Don't need you to take a knee with us. We need you to do policy and push people. And this one right here hurts the most because this one takes life from us. I can't bring back life. None of us can. So it's really, really important that we understand the system we're talking about hurts black people daily. People want to talk about labor. There's no other labor that hurts us. There's no other labor that kills us. I'm all for labor, but not at the cost of black people. Not at the cost of my children. So every 19-year-old that decided to pick up the line for the first time, please feel my pain and understand that we're not negotiating. We're asking people to take the right stand. We're telling you, take a time out. Tell them, go home. Go home should be the message. Come back to the union again in 2 years. Let's renegotiate with one another. But right now, I cannot have you as a part of the union. And I can't have you because we have a chief of police that wants to talk about Minnesota when in her goddamn backyard, and this woman looks like me, so it pains me to stand here and talk about it. It pains me to talk about all the Converges that stood with her this Saturday and Sunday. It pains me as a black woman to have to call them out. But you can't speak for us. And you won't speak for my child. You will not speak for my kids. You can no longer speak for the black community if you are hurting the black community, regardless of what the hell your complexion is. Let's not be complacent. Let's truly understand what we're asking people to do. Kick their asses out. No apologies. They can reinvite themselves in 2 years if, and I repeat, if they can show us some improvement. But no more trainings. We've trained them enough. All they learned is how to kill us better. We had a 24-year-old young man that was killed. Right here in Capitol Hill, we had another human being that had mental health that were killed. Same people that pulled the trigger went through mental health trainings. I give up, people. No more trainings. It's time for them to go. This is happening these months. Last month there were deaths. They are not our executors, and they have became that and go on vacation on black bodies. So whether you're my chief and you look like me or not, it's time for you to go too. I'm not even playing. It is not a negotiation. It is time. Time's up, people. So today I need you to vote with your hearts. I need you to vote with your really understanding that we don't have a choice. We really don't have a choice. You need to make the right decisions. As a community, I'm asking everybody to hold people. If your mother or your father are in the union, I need you to go home. Matter of fact, make a call right now while you're on this. Start texting people because 6 o'clock they're making votes. As I'm standing right here, people are voting on this. I need pressure put on. There should be no bloody reason they win. None. Because they're executing our people. And it hasn't helped any of us. So let's be clear. We're not negotiating. If we're not negotiating, kick them out. Thank you.
Very powerful right there. Very powerful.
All right, so before we bring up our next speaker, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. There's going to be an open mic happening, I think open mic at 6. Sign-ups for that are going to happen with Sundar over here in red. Sundar, can you stand up? If you're interested in speaking, please see Sundar, and he can get you signed up to speak around 6. All right, so our next speaker is Cristina Lopez with Teamsters 763. Please welcome Cristina.
My name is Cristina Lopez, speaking on behalf of the Freedom Socialist Party. I am proud to be a Teamsters Local 763 member. The union represents me as a city worker at the municipal court to represent our interest and our well-being. I am also here as a woman of color and as a labor union activist to say Black Lives Matter, and the police guild has no place in the labor movement. This is not about individual police officers who may be your neighbor, your friend, relative, or member of the community who may or may not be friendly working class folks. This police force was created out of the slave patrols that were used to control African Americans under slavery. These pallet-pounding law enforcement goons were also used to get rid of Native Americans and forcibly remove them from their lands. The police are there to keep Black people, people of color, and the poor down. And they are there to terrorize labor unions and to bring down strikes. And if you think that this happened centuries ago when cops murdered labor activists for demanding an end to child labor, for demanding an end to the 8-hour day, I remember the WTO when this neighborhood battled with the SPD came down on Teamsters and Turtles in the streets, and they pepper sprayed this neighborhood, Capitol Hill. They are there to protect the property and the interest of the rich and powerful. That is the bottom line. And they weaken the labor movement. We need to strengthen the labor movement, and the way to do it, you do what Familias Unidas por la Justicia when they went to Yakima and helped the strikers. They helped the Apple and Fruit workers win a fight, negotiated on conditions that were made deadly by the pandemic. That's what you do to build the labor movement. Can police be reformed? No. Not if their primary focus to keep us down. Not as long as they kill Black people. Not as long as they keep people of color down, which is polar opposite of what we need. We need decent paying jobs that lifts us out of poverty. We need housing, nationalized health care, education, and a clean environment so all of us can breathe free. The police cannot be reformed as long as they use rubber pellets and real ones to maintain power, maintain order. Though reforms are needed to help people survive police terror and to end police terror, the city council's move to ban police from using tear gas and pepper spray is a right step in the right direction. But under this cruel system, a more radical reform is needed. An elected communities review board that is independent of the political establishment, that has the power to fire the cops and also set police policies such as demilitarization, disarming, and no chemical weapons. I've been protesting police abuse and murders for too many years, and I'm mad. I'm like Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. But what I've seen in these streets, what you have all done right now, this gives me hope and optimism. This protest movement led by youth, led by young working class Black radicals is where the hope lies. The House of Labor needs to follow your lead. You are an inspiration to all. Keep it up. No cops in the labor movement. Let's keep fighting.
Moving right along. Tell Sean Turner, LIUNA 242. Next.
This is one of our own. Woo!
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so since it doesn't matter, my name is T.O. Sean Turner. I'm a member of Locals Laborers 242. Yeah. And I really have some facts and some questions to ask all the privileged people here, because I don't really need to ask the Black lives here these questions, because we live that reality every day. You know what I'm saying? So here's some facts. The laborers union is what, 80% minority, right? Which means we're providing jobs for people like me. But however, here's the problem. That pipeline, that education prison pipeline interrupts that. Because kids in Black communities don't have the same resources as a kid that grew up in Bellevue or Redmond. Facts, and that's facts.
Come on.
So that kid that grew up in Rainier Beach area, goes to Rainier Beach High School, whose budget is basically a stimulus check for their whole entire school. You know what I'm saying? That kid that grows up, that went to that school, probably didn't learn much, so he dropped out, joined the streets, got into the streets, ended up going to prison. But see, that's the way the system was designed to make it so. Because if you have that education to prison pipeline, then you have slavery still. You still have slavery. Because according to the 13th Amendment, no person can be an indentured slave, or slavery cannot exist unless being punished by a crime. So what they did was, these people are criminals, these Black people, they're criminals, they're animals. That's what they're gonna think. So they're gonna go out here and commit these crimes, and we're gonna send them to prison, and bam, here's still slavery to this day. We still got slavery to this day. Right?
Come on.
But see, here's the problem though. You privileged people don't have to worry about that though. You privileged people don't have to worry about that though. I gotta worry about that. I have to worry about my nephews and them. You privileged people don't have to worry about that. Just like, here's another thing you privileged people don't have to worry about. My 6-year-old nephew asked his mother about a week or two ago why the police are killing Black people. Children are our future, correct? Children are the future who are gonna affect this change and see it through all the way from what we started. So if that's the case, why is this 6-year-old's dreams already crushed? This 6-year-old don't even have those dreams no more. Because he already doesn't believe in this system. And he's 6. That's disturbing. We're destroying these kids' vision of this system before they reach 10 years old. It's already diluted. They already don't believe in it. So if they don't believe in it, why would I still have faith in it? When it's failed me time and time again. And I'm an adult now. Why would I still believe in it? Why does the Labor Council, why are we not kicking them out, holding them accountable, giving us the opportunity to hold them accountable for what they've done, past and present?
Come on.
Because as of right now, with SPOG being in our Labor Council, they're protected. We can't do anything to, and they're gonna give us all these guidelines that are non-enforceable, right? Right. Okay.
Yes, it is.
So we're gonna give them guidelines to follow, and as history has shown us, they're not gonna follow those guidelines. But here's the catch: we can't enforce them not following those guidelines. So what's the point of them? They're purposeless. They have no purpose. So the only other logical thing to do is kick them out of the Labor Council so we can hold them accountable for the things they're doing here. It's just that simple. As simple as that. As simple as that. Because I'm tired of living this reality every day. I don't want to have to explain to my nephew when he's 15, 16, like, when you encounter police, talk politely, be calm. I don't want to have to explain this to you. Or you're at risk of losing. I don't want to have to explain that. I don't want to have that talk. I'm tired of having those talks. I had it with my little brothers. I'm tired. We all should be tired. And the people with privilege should really be tired of it. Because it doesn't affect you guys. It affects us. And if you guys are really for Black lives like everybody here says they are, there's only one logical answer. Stand up, put your money where your mouth is, or shut the hell up and go home. It's that simple. It's that simple. Because the way I see it is, you can say you love me and you value my life, but unless you're standing right here fighting with me against this system that has oppressed me all my life and my people all our lives, then you're not really for this movement. You're just here. You're just a person taking up space. You're a body. Have a purpose or leave. Because Black Lives Matter, period. Black Seattle lives matter too. Let's not forget that. SPD has killed Black lives here too. And it seems like don't lose sight of why we're here. We started this movement because Black Lives Matter. So if Black Lives Matter, why is this the only place I feel safe? I live here, I leave from here, and I'm not safe anywhere else. Because I still have to worry about the police. So if I'm still uncomfortable, why is everybody so comfortable?
That's right.
If I'm still uncomfortable and Black Lives Matter, why is everybody else so comfortable?
That's right.
I should be uncomfortable. I should be just as comfortable as everybody else, right? And Black Lives Matter. I want to be comfortable just like you guys with privilege. I want to be that comfortable, and I'm not. I'm nowhere near it. So if I'm nowhere near being as comfortable as you guys with privilege, then you guys shouldn't be comfortable either. SPOG out of here. Let's go. Let's get SPOG out of here.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's what I'm talking about, twin.
Here we go.
That's my student. Her name is TK.
1488.
My student.
How's everybody doing? Was there any laborers out here last week during the protest? Any laborers out here on the barricades? Where you at?
Twin.
Right here. Yeah.
So my name's Bo. I'm part of Washington Federation of State Employees, Local 1488. I'm a custodian. I clean bathrooms.
Okay, you know where the
I clean bathrooms for people who make 200% more money than me, and probably the lowest paid worker out here. So we have some unique distinctions that need to be clarified. Namely, there's a difference between work and having a job. Jeff Bezos has a job, but is he a worker? I don't think so. Workers transform this world. We take the untilled and we turn it into the tilled. We take wilderness and we turn it into city. Labor is the jelly that converts the inert into reality. Police have a job. Their job is to protect property. Who owns property? Not the working class. And this isn't about good or bad cops. This is about bad laws. It's about a bad system that even good cops, if there are any, have to enforce. Because if there are any ethical and honorable cops, there might be, they will absolutely be part of whatever system we make next. Because using public funds to uphold this modern day slave patrol system is handcuffing this movement that the so-called Labor Council is trying to lead. Labor for Black Lives is about justice. It's about being on the right side of history, because future history will remember and trace the knowledge of its genealogy to this day. When organized labor outside the council got together and said, "Fuck you, SPOG. Fuck you, you can't be in our movement." Not until migrant workers and strawberry pickers and sex workers and dishwashers and the other 85% of labor are organized. When cops stop killing black people, when cops stop killing the working class, when the carceral state is reduced to over-glorified crossing guards, then they can come back to our movement. Thank you.
All right, everybody, let's get loud.
How y'all doing? How's everyone? All of God's children. All God's children. Where's the camera? Where's the camera? Police. Police. We coming.
Hey, not even mad about that. This is Eric Calligraphy with Converge. Short and simple. That's the way we like it.
Fantastic, and damn right we're coming for SPOG.
Yeah.
All right, so our next speaker is from AFT 1789, Seattle City Council member Shama Sawant.
This is Shama Sawant.
Not as tall as I thought. Dear friends, as was said before, my name is Shama Sawant. I am a rank and file member of the American Federation of Teachers, Local 1789. I am also the Social City Council member in Seattle. And in fact, I used to be an educator at Seattle Central Community College when 9 years ago, we had the Occupy Seattle movement and we successfully fought against the police at that time. But this uprising, this rebellion that we are seeing nationwide and globally is truly a historic moment and a turning point. And look at what's happened in Seattle already. The hundreds of young people who were there night after night on 11th and Pine, facing down barbaric police weapons, were able to drive Seattle police out. And when you drive, and this is the story of capitalism. When you drive the police out, you are also sending a message to the big business-backed political establishment who want to maintain the status quo of oppression and capitalism. In addition to that, I hope everybody knows, on Monday, just 2 days ago, our city's movement against racism and police violence won a historic victory when we forced the establishments in City Hall to vote unanimously to make Seattle the first city in the nation to ban police use and purchase of any of those chemical weapons or so-called crowd control weapons. And I don't have time to go over the list of the weapons that are now banned because of the law that we were able to pass through our movement and through our Socialist Council office, but it definitely includes all of the weapons that we were all subjected to. This is a huge victory, but we have a long way to go, as we know. Tonight, we are all here together, those of us who are in the labor movement in unions, those of us who are workers, which is basically all of us, but are not in unions. We stand together demanding that our labor movement, our labor council, kick Seattle police out of our labor movement. And the Seattle police, with their long and unshaken track record of racism and harassment of poor people and homeless people, should never have been allowed into our labor movement. The union, the Seattle Police Officers Guild, has used its resources systematically as a weapon against working class people of color, against poor and homeless, and in shielding killer cops from any accountability. SPOG, the Seattle Police Officers Guild, has been allowed to use its membership in the council, labor council, as cover against its violence and racism, calling for quote-unquote labor solidarity 2 years ago when they demanded a yes vote on their racist contract. But I'm here as a rank and file member of the labor movement, joining all of you in saying that that is not labor solidarity. Defending racist cops is not working class solidarity. In fact, it is complicity with the racist and exploitative system. We cannot afford for our labor council to be complicit anymore. If we succeed in kicking Seattle police out of our labor council tonight, it will be yet another historic victory for our movement, and no doubt will inspire workers and labor nationally and internationally. But it will not be enough either. It will be important but we have to keep going. We have to connect this fight around SPOG to the larger fight for our movement's demands. To step up the fight to defund police by at least 50%. And not allow city council establishment to block our movement through endless studies, stakeholder groups where you and I won't be the stakeholders, and resolutions and committees and so on and so forth. So my office, alongside the movement, alongside the People's Budget Campaign, will be bringing legislation to defund Seattle police by at least 50%. Will you join me?
Yeah!
Next week on Thursday, June 25th, mark your calendar, June 25th at 6 p.m., we will be having the People's Budget Town Hall where we will discuss our strategy, what is the actual policy going to look like to defund police by 50%, and also to win the strongest possible Amazon tax in order to end the racist gentrification in our city by building affordable housing and creating jobs for our marginalized communities. We also demand that all protesters be released without charges. We also need to fight for an independently elected community oversight board with full powers over the police, because the police being overseen by the political establishment is basically like saying the police need to oversee themselves because they're hand in glove. We need to break that link. We need independent oversight over the police by our community. We don't want the East Precinct to go back into the hands of the police. We want it to be brought into permanent community control. But to win any of this, we are going to have to build our movement itself independently of the establishment. Because those of you who saw what happened on Monday, the establishment, while saying Black Lives Matter, attempted to drive through truck-size changes into our bill to ban chemical weapons, which would basically have gutted the bill. And we were able to win against that attempt because of our ferocious and united movement. And we have to keep that going. One other thing for our labor movement. We also cannot have a false idea of solidarity with the Democratic Party establishment under whose oversight this violence has happened. And that's why we need to fight for independent political representation. As an example, 2 years ago, when that racist police contract came to a vote, sections of the labor leadership worked alongside the political establishment to pressure all council members to vote yes. I was the only no vote, unfortunately, even though it was a majority people of color council. And each year, we have brought forward through our office proposals to defund police, proposals to stop the sweeps of homeless people. Every time this council has voted no on those proposals. And last fall, these same council members who say Black Lives Matter now, last fall, they voted, I voted against this, but they voted to give Seattle cops hiring bonuses to attract them to the force. When was the last time teachers and social workers got hiring bonuses?
Yeah!
The police are backed and provided cover by the conservative layer of the trade union bureaucracy, which helped Seattle police get inside the Labor Council in the first place. And they also threatened, when that racist contract was up for a vote 2 years ago, they threatened, the labor bureaucracy, sections of the labor bureaucracy threatened that if any council member dared to vote no on that contract, they were coming after them next year, which was last year in the elections. And they did. They came after our movement and socialist council office, but we were able to defeat all the right-wing forces and Amazon and still prevail, which shows that when you fight, you can win. And that is That is why, as we demand that Seattle police be kicked out of the Labor Council, we must also connect this to understanding we need a labor movement, a different kind of labor movement in this struggle against racism, because it affects all of us. It affects people of color disproportionately, but the working class as a whole is not the beneficiary of this oppressive system. And as long as we are divided, it empowers the capitalist class. So we have to fight together against racism. And ultimately, we have to connect our struggles to the international fight to end capitalism itself and for a different kind of society that is free of police, racism, and oppression entirely. Let's begin by continuing to win reforms and even more radical reforms. At the same time, understanding, as Malcolm X said, you cannot have capitalism without racism. So if we want to end racism, we are going to have to fight like hell to win the reforms, but we have to fight to end the system of capitalism itself and fight for a world. Fight for a world that is based on equality. And that would be a socialist world. And that can only begin when the working class as a whole fights to take democratic public control over the major corporations. Because when you don't own the wealth, you don't own the power. So let's fight. No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No racist.
Police.
No racist.
Police.
Solidarity.
Solidarity.
Pandemic, everybody. All right, we have awesome speakers coming up still. We want to remind you though that if you want to speak, and we hope that lots of the workers speak, will you sign up for the open mic? And where's the there he is, right there. Come in, get your name down. All right. Okay, we got Jesse Hilopia from SEA.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Jesse Hagopian. I teach ethnic studies and English language arts at Garfield High School. I'm a union representative for my school and part of the Seattle Education Association that represents Seattle's teachers, K through 12. We represent the nurses in the building. We represent the instructional assistants, the office professionals, and all the educational support staff. And I'm here with good news today. I'm here to let you know that at our last meeting last week, the Seattle Education Association passed 7 resolutions in support of Black lives. We passed a resolution that said, Seattle police officers, get out of our schools. We passed the resolution I put forward that said we need to defund the police by at least 50% and use that money to invest in public education and in health care.
In black communities.
And I'm proud to say that we passed a resolution last week that said, SPOG, get out of our union. This is for workers, not for strike breakers, not for killers and murderers. Why did we pass that? Why did Seattle's educators, the kindergarten teachers, the middle school teachers, the high school teachers, and all the educators, why did we come together to pass all these resolutions to kick the police out of our schools and out of our unions? It surely was that image of the police officer with his knee on the neck of George Floyd. All of us educators were horrified like you were. We could hardly breathe watching that video, thinking about how it could be one of our students next. It could be us.
But I want to suggest to you today that it wasn't just about some other city, that we don't have to look beyond the shores of the Puget Sound to know what that brutality is like in our own communities.
Thank you.
We took that vote last week because the Seattle Police Department killed a mother of a Seattle Public Schools student. You know her name. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. She called the police 3 years ago. On the third anniversary is this Thursday. She called the police to come to her home. She feared for her own safety, feeling that somebody was breaking into her apartment building. And the police, within minutes of arriving, shot her down in a hail of 7 bullets, 3 bullets in her back, in front of 3 of her 4 children. She was pregnant at the time. You want me to be in a union with an organization that defended the police officers that killed the mother of a Seattle Public Schools children? I'm not going to do that. I won't be in solidarity with those people. We passed that resolution to kick the police out of our union because our own members have experienced the brutality of the Seattle Police Department. Right? I myself, on Martin Luther King Day in 2015, after giving one of the final speeches of the rally, was pepper sprayed in the face while I was on the phone with my mom coordinating a ride to my son's 2-year-old birthday party at the time. I was standing on the sidewalk trying to find out where my mom was when a blast of hot pepper spray hit me directly in the face. I spent the rest of the day pouring milk on my face, traumatizing my family, my son at his own birthday party. So we don't have to look around the country and see the many horrors that exist when we can look right here in our own neighborhoods and see the way they're brutalizing black and brown, indigenous, people of color, all across Seattle and throughout the labor movement. And I want to ask you all a question here today. I want you to think about what inspires you throughout history. What are the social movements, the leaders that you look to in moments like this where we need to make change, right? Where change seems on the horizon. What are the great social movements that have inspired you throughout history? Take a moment and think about one. Then I want you to think about what side the police were on in that struggle. Did you think about Stonewall? What side were the police were on? Did you think about Rosa Parks sitting down and sparking the Montgomery bus boycott, one of the pivotal moments in the eruption of the civil rights movement? Were you thinking about some of the great labor struggles like the Haymarket struggle that fought and won the 8-hour day in this country? Every single one of those movements was opposed by police and the unions that defend them. All my heroes have mugshots. That's why I wore this hoodie.
Fire! Hoodie's fire!
We need to have a world where the people with the mugshots, they're the ones who have power to understand how we move forward in this world, because the police don't go after criminals. They go after working people, black and brown communities. They go after our neighbors, our loved ones, our students. They don't fight crime. If they wanted to fight crime, we would see the bankers that sabotage the global economy behind bars. We would see those that vote for billions of dollars to go bomb people all over the world sitting behind bars, and the rest of us walking around free, building wonderful communities like we see here at the CHOP. We need to abolish the police, and I'm glad to say we're on that road. We kicked them out of the schools. It's time to kick them out of this city and this nation and build a future worth living in. Thanks everybody for having me out here today.
Good job, brother.
All right, and I want to welcome Malcolm here, who's going to lead us in some chants before we continue with the rest of the speaking program.
Let's go, Malcolm.
What's up, y'all? Make some noise for yourselves, y'all. Y'all look good out there, y'all. Make some noise. Whose lives matter? Black lives matter. Whose lives matter? Black lives matter. Whose lives matter? Black lives matter. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. Whose lives matter? Black lives matter. This time when I say his name, I want you guys to say Sean Furr. And for who you guys don't, many of you guys who do not know, Sean Furr was killed by Seattle Police Department, and he was holding his daughter. He was holding his daughter. They shot him in his head. So although we came together because of George Floyd, we have to make sure that we say the names that resonate with these officers here so that we can also hold them accountable, okay? So when I say his name, I want you guys to say Sean Furr. Say his name.
Sean Furr.
Say his name.
Sean Furr.
Say his name.
Sean Furr.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Thank you, y'all.
All right, so this is a little weird. I'm up next, and I told Beto I don't need an intro. I can handle it. For anyone who wasn't here earlier, my name is Manuel Carrillo. I'm a proud member of United Here Local 8, the Food Service and Hospitality Workers Union. Sisters and brothers, just 3 short weeks ago, we saw the horrific murder of George Floyd at the hands of the Minneapolis Police Department. It was a horrific act of violence, but one that we have seen far too many times, as so many speakers here have pointed out already. It is an unfortunate and undeniable truth that police violence against communities of color, and especially Black people, is nothing new. It is nothing new here in Seattle and in communities all across this country. And we are now seeing a new wave of protests and uprisings in cities big and small, making clear that enough is enough, that Black lives matter, and that we must all do better. We are here today as union members and community members to join in that struggle and uplift the demands of these movements, recognizing that we have not done enough. Here in Seattle, as we have already heard, the 3 demands that are most prominently being echoed across this city are to defund the Seattle Police Department, to invest in our communities, and to free our protesters. And we should be clear that supporting these demands also means taking actions in our unions and our organizations. I want to thank the Highline Education Association and the Seattle Education Association for helping to show the way for the labor community here in Seattle. The police as an institution are fundamentally racist, anti-worker force that protects law and order of the working class and not ordinary working people. SPOG has played a reactionary role, reinforcing this racist, unaccountable role of the Seattle Police Department. SPOG fought to overturn in their 2018 contract limited police accountability. They pushed for spending hundreds of millions of dollars of our own taxpayer money to fund a new police bunker and a new youth jail. And time again, SPOG has shown that it will not change. It is time to kick them out of the MLK Central Labor Council. Now, I know my time is almost up, and we have a lot of other great speakers coming up, so I want to conclude on just one more point. Kicking SPOG out alone is not enough to turn our labor movement into the anti-racist movement we know it can be. It is important to not forget that SPOG was aided in all of this by the majority of the leadership on the Labor Council. The majority of the Labor Council leadership actively supported SPOG in trying to pass their 2018 contract that overturned these very modest accountability measures. So we must keep pressure on in our unions and in the Labor Council after we kick them and show them the door. We must get the Labor Council to endorse the 3 demands that we have heard echoed here time and time again: cutting the budget of the SPD, turning it toward social services, and freeing our protesters. But endorsing it is not enough. We have a responsibility as the voice of working people in this city to be out there on the streets with every single person here fighting to make that happen. And I know that the folks here are committed to doing just that. Black Lives Matter.
Woo!
AFGE Owls, Gail Vanguard.
I'd like to begin by saying that my union, the American Federation of Government Employees Local, it represents multiracial workers. 1,700 voted to kick SPOG out of the council. I'm really pleased with that. I'm speaking for OWLS, Organized Workers for Labor Solidarity. We're a multi-issue, multiracial organization, a fighting organization. We formed to push the labor movement to the left. And we've been doing that for the last 10 years. We've organized against a racist and anti-union company called Freedom Foundation. We had a caravan not too long ago for the QFC and Amazon. And currently one of our members, bus driver, Linda Averill, found out that at South Base, the Metro Bus South Base, somebody had hung an effigy of a black person, and we're organizing the community and other bus drivers against that. I've never had any illusion about the police. As a kid, from 12 on, I knew they were bullies. I've been harassed, threatened, thrown to the ground, cuffed, and put in a squad car. So I have no illusion. I don't think you can. I know you can't reform them. You have to be able to put a leash around them, a tight leash, and a civilian review board that is responsible only to the community that it terrorizes, that has the power to fire these motherfuckers, and penalize them. That's the only way.
Yeah. Tell them, Gil.
They have one boss, and that's the system, capitalism. That's who their allegiance is. Doesn't matter what color, what sex orientation, what gender. They know what their job is, and the incident with George Floyd showed that. 3 cops just stood around and let him kill him. So I don't have much more to say, but I really appreciate all of you being here. And damn, let's keep going, because let's get these motherfuckers. One last thing. The police station, I say, Avita Zane motherfuckers.
Tell him, Gil.
Avita Zane mother.
He's funny.
All right. So next we want to welcome Cliff Cawthon from the Bellevue College Association of Higher Education.
Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
So, I remember after George Floyd got killed, grounding myself in the knowledge that I'm going to have to explain this to my students. Especially my black students, their lives don't matter in America because we have been systematically dehumanized since African feet have touched these shores 400 years ago. And I'm angry. And I'm angry that I had to explain that. I'm angry that I will have to keep explaining it. I'm angry that now we care about black lives in this country. I am fucking angry that now we care about black lives in this country.
We should have been caring.
And you're right.
Facts.
And you're right that we have had, hell, I remember getting to talk when I was a kid about how to be around police. 31 years old, folks. Me and my fiance were thinking about having a family, and the one thing I dread about that is having to tell my son or daughter in the future, this after everything we have done, after marching, after fighting, after conversations about reform, after attempting to join every single organization that we think will give a damn. This is what you have to do, not to be killed. And then they will blame you for dying. And that's the thing.
I haven't worked for you, and you are wrong. We are together.
Dude, are you serious right now? Dude, are you? Hey, yo, are you interrupting me? Let me tell you something. This is anti-blackness. This is anti-blackness right here.
Get the hell out of there.
And the thing is that we, as a movement, have to recognize this about ourselves in order to change. We have to see this in order to change internally so we can change this country. And this is the thing, that right here, what we have is beautiful, but we have to go forward into our communities, not just in the city of Seattle, right now, for all the precious people who have been killed by police in Renton, Kent, Auburn, Federal Way, that those police departments have filed a lawsuit to stop reforms to police inquests so that there's some meaningful change. So police have to meaningfully address why they killed their family members. And this is the thing. It's his brother over here to all of the others.
Take your ass on.
That we constantly have to bring along. I'm sorry, folks, that this is the thing, that we do not have time. We do not have time to educate. We do not have time to coddle. We don't have time to compromise. We do not have time to say we can wait on the King County Labor Council or any other organization that calls to realize that Black Lives Matter.
The fuck out of here.
Because whether they like it or not, my life matters. The lives of my people matter. The lives of my family matter. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. Give him some time on the mic. Let him talk.
Hey, don't get talking during the open mic.
We're actually in unions that are ready to speak.
All right.
It's just disruptive. He's drunk.
Obviously, tensions are very high right now. It's quite unfortunate.
I'll go on the list. Go with the list.
Again, we're not going to allow insiders to come in. Everyone can have a time to talk. They said open mic was at 6 o'clock. We're not allowing him his time to speak, but let's not be
Hey, let him talk. Just get him out the way.
The people want him to talk?
No.
Then let him talk.
No, don't let him talk. Fuck that. Go home.
People don't want him to talk.
Give him a water.
Let him say his piece.
Are we here together or are we here separate?
Together.
Are we here together or are we here separate? Then stand up right now, all of you. All of you, stand up from your feet. Stand up, literally. Stand up right here, right now.
Bro, are we gonna cut him off like that, bro? Why? Hear him out. Hear him out.
Are we here together or are we here separate? Are you looking at me or are we together? Stand up, guys.
Man, hear him. Hear him out.
Stand up. Stand up. Stand up.
No, just hear him out. Hear him out. Shit. He's already there. Hear him out. He's already there. You might as well hear him out. He's already there.
Come on, respect that.
He's already there. Hear him out. He's already there. Hey!
2 minutes.
Hey, let him shut. Say
2
something
minutes.
and shut up.
Give him 2 minutes.
Say something and get off.
2 minutes. Go ahead.
2 minutes.
10 seconds.
Say something and get off the stage.
2 minutes.
Damn, he's already there. Hear him out.
Yeah.
Guys, we're here together, and each and every one of our lives matter. You life matter, black lives matter, your life matter. If I say white, if I say Hispanic, it doesn't matter what word I use, because we are here right now. We are here right now, and there is opposers, and those opposers we do not associate with. We move forward. We are united in one movement, and I'm trying to show that to you. Please stand up together right now. Show it to yourselves that we are one body, that when one of us speaks, we all move, that when one of us speaks, we all rise, that when one of us speaks, we all stay together. 2 minutes. It has not been 2 minutes.
He's got 2
Do
minutes.
not touch the mic, please.
60 seconds.
Stand up together. You're standing. I see you. I see you too. I see you too. Thank you, because we are together right now, right here. You. I don't care if you're Hindu, I don't care if you're Mexican, I don't care what you are or you call yourself, because we are one body. What are we?
One body.
What are we?
One body.
What are we? What are we? One love, one body, we're all together. Thank you guys who stood today, because you know what it means to be together and united in something. Right now, this is all we got. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, not what happened 2 minutes ago. That doesn't matter. It's right here. You're looking at me.
You had your time. Good job.
Thank you.
Black lives matter. Who lives matter? Whose lives matter? Whose lives matter? Thanks, everybody. Thank you, workers, for staying united and staying together. The meeting has now begun, and so it's happening. It's happening right now. We're gonna get those motherfuckers
All right, sorry for the brief intermission or whatever that was.
And then we're gonna open it up, and a whole bunch of people are gonna talk. All the workers are welcome. So right now we've got Logan Swan.
Cuz, man.
I know you. Where are you?
My name is Logan Swan. I'm a rank and file journeyman iron worker at a local 86 Seattle.
Woo! Yeah!
I'm proud to continue the best traditions of the labor movement of understanding that an attack on any community of the working class is an attack on our class as a whole, and throwing the full power of our class into defending all of our brothers, sisters, and siblings. Karl Marx said, the labor cannot emancipate itself in the white skin when the black is branded. The same ruling class that directs the police, that has its hands on the lever of power in this system, that has created and benefits from the racism as we know it today, is the same class that oversees a world where thousands starve to death on a daily, despite there being enough food, where homelessness is a growing crisis and housing affordability burdens working families despite there being an abundance of homes that sit empty. This world where bombs and fully equipped soldiers can be deployed anywhere within hours, but adequate disaster relief is never prioritized. People who have been following recent events will likely notice that the worst misery and inequality that I'm referencing here is disproportionately inflicted on our sisters and brothers of color at home and internationally. As this same system that profits off of our labor, off of our need for housing and healthcare, relies on and perpetuates racism, as well as misogyny and xenophobia in order to keep itself in power. It is on this basis that it's in every worker's interest to combat racism, to stand in solidarity with every struggle against oppression, and to take up these fights as our own because they are our own. Our labor movement belongs to and is accountable to every worker. Ourselves as trade unionists, as well as our organizations that provide structure to our immense collective power, have an obligation to every member and every worker to raise the floodgates and allow the tremendous energy that we are seeing in the streets of this movement embodies to flow into our union halls and our workplaces. The demands I've heard put forward in this movement to cut the funding of the SPD in half instead of continuing the vicious austerity that we've witnessed for decades, to turn the East Precinct into a community and restorative justice center, no more developing infrastructure for oppression and incarceration, no new precinct, and no new youth jail. As a building trades worker, I'm not gonna fucking build it. And for community control over the police, where a democratically elected body accountable to the people would direct the police on how they're allowed to engage with our communities and would have the power to fire and subpoena officers. To invest in our communities by making the big businesses that profit off our exploitation and the systemic racism make them pay, not by increasing the burden placed on the working class and the poor. And to expel the Seattle Police Officers Guild from the Martin Luther King County Labor Council. This officers organization has resisted the most modest reforms the entire time it's been affiliated with our Labor Council. With every step, they've tread on second chances and burned the bridge behind them. It does a great disservice to the Seattle labor movement to collaborate with this hostile, violent organization. Mayor Durkin's provided over the police over this past period in which we've witnessed shocking attacks on peaceful protesters with chemical weapons and rubber bullets. Lead bullets have been used against our sisters and brothers in black community, with 8 police murders under her watch and not one charge or firing.
Come on with it. Come on. Facts.
It is not enough for labor to break from SPOG.
Facts.
We must break from Durkin and the Democratic political establishment. Labor, join the call. Mayor Durkin must go.
Yeah.
Nearly 500 union members have signed our petition to expel SPOG in solidarity with our communities that are demanding the knee of racist police brutality be removed from their necks. These demands must be taken up by our labor unions, and every union member here should be organizing and fighting to make that happen. Woo. Solidarity.
Hell yeah! Yeah!
We'll go 86!
My outro a little bit.
All right. Up next, I want to welcome Marissa from the IBEW.
Woo! Local 46!
Hell yeah! That one might be a little short for you.
Hold it like that. I'm Marisa. I'm a member of Local 46, and I'm also a member of Socialist Alternative. And I'm here not only in support of removing SPOG from the Labor Council, but also to call on our labor leaders and members to carry on with this movement and use this as a moment to strengthen the force of unions and organize against an injustice. We've had to join and support the fight against our structural and institutionalized racism, and your unions can give us the strength behind us to make this change. You know, unions are a reflection of the broader working class, and they move with the people they represent. And right now, the people are speaking, and this issue is at the front of our collective consciousness, and our union leaders need to listen to us. Yes! Labor unions in the past have had to come to terms and evolve with their own issues regarding race. And this includes my own union. But it's a recent history that was changed by the voices and actions of their members. And when unions move and adapt with the public influence, it has an incredibly strong influence. Absolutely! And social change can be unstoppable. In Hawaii, ILWU was able to organize Indigenous, Hawaiian, and Filipino workers and give them stronger organizing power than they had before. And this shows how class solidarity can push forward the movement to defeat institutional racism. Woo! So I was raised in a house that constantly told me how unions were what gave my family the opportunity to survive when they immigrated. When my grandfather came from Mexico, he was a union construction worker with LL300 in LA. And the aid and insurance that was provided through this saved my father and his family multiple times and helped them escape from the poverty circle. You know, I've always back home where we didn't think that we could have a chance to have a fair wage and insurance and any of these things, but still they're stopped every single day on the way to work because they were finally able to afford the car they wanted, and police think they look suspicious. They don't protect them. They don't protect them on their way to work, and they don't protect them on their way home from work or any other time. Woo! My father, my mother, my uncles, my tias, everyone, they were in a union and they told me every time the cops ain't shit and they ain't here to protect you. Because every single time we've been on that line striking, they were there facing us, looking us in the eyes, ready to beat our asses and protect the bosses that we were fighting against. Woo! If my grandfather went to strike, who would be there to hurt him? And who would be there to try to break it up? SPD has continuously shown they are capable of committing violent crimes against the Black community and the city, and they killed 6 people just since December 2018. The SPD has forced open picket lines to allow strikebreakers and shown they are no friends to organized labor. So why, as a labor council, should you represent a union that has historically caused harm, continue to uphold the disenfranchisement of the people you represent, and protect their members from being held accountable for murder? You know, there's a movement happening, and labor unions need to join the fight. Because when organized together in a collective struggle, they are unstoppable. And this is an opportunity for us to organize and show strength and push for social justice and show this generation what unions are capable of. This doesn't just stop at removing SPOG. We gotta help fight to defund the police, to cut the budget of the SPD at least in half, and to present a community that helps working families. Help with the fight to free prisoners who are often exploited for their labor while incarcerated, and aid in the call for affordable housing, which would not only create jobs for union members, but also ensure that those who provide the labor that run and build the city can actually afford to live in it. I was in the first year I had to work 2 jobs to be able to afford to live in the city.
Just state my opinion.
Take up the demand for community control over the police so workers can elect a board with the authority to direct how policing is done and discipline officers who commit acts of violence against our community. Please stand on the right side of history in this moment and listen to what the people in the city you represent are fighting for.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
How's this? Is that better?
Speaker from Protect 17, Sundar.
Hey y'all. My name is Sundar. I work for the city of Seattle. I'm a proud socialist and a member of the Protect 17, which is a union that represents over 8,000 public sector workers here in Seattle. And I'm here representing also City Workers for Black Lives, which is a union effort that we started. You know, in my office and across the city of Seattle, many of us work incredibly under-resourced and understaffed every day to provide services and access to housing, healthcare, education, and your rights against discrimination and harassment. And we are Black, white, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian workers who fight every day to make this city belong to the people of Seattle. We formed City Workers for Black Lives because when we see what is being done in our name and with our budget by police departments across the country, decades of murders, brutality, and cover-ups targeted towards Black, Brown, Indigenous, LGBTQ, disabled folks, rampant racism and shielding of white supremacists within the ranks of the police, brutal militarized violence against peaceful protesters. We have a moral duty as labor to stand up and say that we as public sector workers stand with the communities we serve and not the police. Now, the Seattle Police Officers Guild also represents something that your tax dollars fund. But as many of us here know, they take a somewhat different view of their role. Every single time, and people have talked about many examples, but every time that they have had to choose between protecting one of their own from any accountability whatsoever, or the broader demands of the multiracial working class who are out in the streets right now, overwhelmingly condemning this racist police system, they don't hesitate to shield their members. And we have to refuse to continue to shield them. These are officers who injure, maim, kill, use weapons of war, and occupy our neighborhoods like an occupying force.
No problem, Ashley. Everybody deserves a platform.
And brothers are simply trying to breathe. And if we as union workers don't stand up to this, we are betraying our members, both members of color and the broader labor movement, and all of the courageous activists who are in the streets right now fighting for a better world. So it is far past time for us to say today in one united voice, we demand SPOG's expulsion from our labor council. The COVID crisis and mass unemployment right now are highlighting the gaping inequalities and disparities that are felt acutely by Black and brown workers every day. And what is the response of the political leaders, the corporate gentrifiers, the billionaire class who are looting our communities every day when we take to the streets. To keep funding and militarizing police to crush our movements. If we can kick SPOG out today, it will send a powerful message to these leaders that labor is prepared to stand up for Black lives and demand an end to decades of violence, brutality, and disinvestment in our communities. I'll just end on this. While the police budget continually expands, Mayor Durkin wants to propose hundreds of millions more in cuts to public services. It is a form of economic violence targeted at communities of color to fund police, but not fund social services like healthcare, education, housing, community centers, youth programs. But we at ProTech are not going down without a fight. And I hope many of you will stand up with us in the coming months to say no to austerity and cuts as well. Because this is the way in which the police play the role of enforcing that system that is around all the time, that tells us that our priorities and our lives as BIPOC people don't matter. And we have to say no to that. So let's defund the police and fund human needs instead. Thank you all. Solidarity.
Short people.
Hey, this is
All
Eric.
right,
Can I get a battery pack from down here?
So we are being watched. Guess who's watching us? The council! Let's tell them what we want. What do we want?
SPOG
Lives Matter! SPOG out now!
Black Lives Matter!
SPOG out now! Black Lives Matter! SPOG out now! Black Lives Matter! SPOG out now!
Noise! Make some noise! Let them know! You hear us, Labor Council? We want those out! We want those racist cops out!
Now!
So we have a few updates that I think Manuel is going to say. All right.
So we know, just want to give folks some updates. We'll be giving updates throughout the open mic session. What we do know is that the executive board of the MLK Labor Council has already done their vote. Now the vote goes on to be ratified by the rest of the Labor Council. That we know that the executive board has voted to kick out SPOG. Now, that is just the first step, right? The meeting where the labor unions are going to be voting to ratify that position just got started. For anyone who wants to call in and listen as a guest, we have a tiny URL right here that you can use to log on. tinyurl.com/MLK SPOG Out. That's tinyurl.com/MLK SPOG OUT.
If you're a union member, please get on this one. If you're a union member, please, we need you.
So we'll be making updates throughout the next hour or so. We're going to move on to the next portion of this open mic. And I believe Sundar is going to be leading us off and inviting the speakers to come up.
And we're signing out, people.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all. We are now going to the open mic portion.
Thank you, everyone.
Where people will be speaking their piece. And
now we're going to move into the open mic section.
Yeah.
And so we have a handful of speakers who want to come up. So first up, just some ground rules. We're asking folks to keep contributions to 3 to 5 minutes if possible, so we can hear from as many people as possible. We're going to start with Malcolm from BLM. Where you at, Malcolm?
How are you?
Malcolm here?
Yeah.
Okay. We have Chris, also from Black Lives Matter. Hey, Chris.
How's it in the office?
First of all, I'm not from Black Lives Matter. I'm for Black Lives Matter. I've been getting my ass kicked by that police station since I was 14 years old. I grew up in Seattle. And then they kicked my son's ass. So we go into 2 generations of this shit. The best thing that's happened since I've been coming up here is somebody is finally talking about getting that goddamn union out the way so we can get rid of these motherfuckers. Somebody said the council is watching. If you're watching, I'm tired and I'm ready to go home. So do what the fuck you need to do so I can go home. I am now becoming a hostage in this situation because the council, the mayor, and the judge, and the judges too, they fucked up. The police chief, they got something to do. This is the best thing to do. I heard somebody say, for 2 years, it should be for as long until they prove themselves to us. They should show us that they deserve it. They expect us to show that we deserve what we get, what we deserve. They should be treated the same way. When they do racist shit, it should go on their fucking employment history. They shouldn't be allowed to go do it somewhere else. There was a state that was talking about making it a crime for them not to have on that body cam. That's how you police them motherfuckers. Because when they come into the precinct with a suspect and they don't have body cam video, then they get in the next cell. And I'm really angry. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say it. It's the last time I'm gonna say anything about it. Those black folks that have come up here and started cash apps and exploiting these people who are trying to help us, you fucking disgust me. You don't stand for what I stand for. Because after you spend that money and we lose this, they're gonna go back to business. And they're gonna punish our black folks twice as hard because you tried.
Facts. Facts.
This whole country is in a fucking shift. I've never, as a black man, had people stand up for me all over the fucking world. That's big shit. And if we don't seize this motherfucking moment and we lose it, trust me, they are already sitting down there trying to figure out what to do in case it ever happens again. They didn't think this would happen. They had no idea. The white folks down there didn't know that there was white folks that cared. They thought all y'all was against us.
They thought wrong.
And you don't put up a sign that says white violence is violence and then tell a white person to shut up. That's confusing. Each and every human being walking on this earth has a right to stand up for injustice, and they don't need nobody's permission. I didn't ask for permission to come out here.
Facts.
I got fed up.
Facts.
And what this voice is, what you're hearing, is that a voice that's been suppressed by the Seattle police all my motherfucking life.
Facts. Come on. Speak on it. Speak on it. Hey, I'm in church right now.
They didn't know I could talk like this because I didn't know I could.
Right. No, for real.
If you're not here fighting police injustice and brutality in the black community, you are here for the wrong fucking reason.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's what started this.
Thank you.
People died for this. And while you get money in your CashApp, we done lost 3 more black people.
Facts.
7.
Speak on it.
That should make you feel bad.
7.
Shit, 120 people been killed since George Floyd died.
If you can't pay your motherfucking rent, that's your problem.
21 days, you guys have killed another 120 people.
It's ridiculous.
Let's be real.
So anyway,
It's so dumb.
Shoot.
I'm not going to say nothing else about that. But like I had to tell one of these individuals today, you cannot silence my voice. I'm not going to let my voice get silenced again.
Thank
ever.
you.
Ever.
Thank you. Come on. Let's go, big dog. Come on, tell him, OG.
As far as you white folks go, if you stand with me, I can stand with you.
Thank you. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Give it up for Chris.
Brother Chris in the building.
Next up is Malcolm back. Malcolm? Anywhere? All right. Next up we have Preston. Oh.
There goes Malcolm.
So let's start this off with a chant. How do you spell racist? SPD! 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 Thank you, everybody. Siblings, sisters, and brothers, my name is Preston, and I'm a rank and file member of UAW 4121, representing thousands of academic student workers at the University of Washington. And I'm proud to share with you that last week in our general membership meeting, we voted nearly unanimously to evict SPOG from the King County Labor Council. This is in solidarity with our Black, Indigenous, and people of color siblings, and because an injury to one is an injury to all. SPOG stands against this. Their murders of people of color, Sean Furr, Shirlena Lyles, and John T. Williams.
There's more.
They've maced kids. They've gassed neighborhoods. And they've vengefully arrested anyone who dared to protest them. Which shows that the King County Labor Council must go further than just kicking out SPOG. Letting them in was a mistake, and now is our chance to correct it. The King County Labor Council must become an organ of the entire working class, which is of every color, lives every culture, speaks every language, and is union and non-union. We must understand that as long as the 2 richest men rake in billions on our shores, while workers struggle to live in our city, the Seattle Police Department will continue to oppress us. Which is why the council must go further. They must call to defund the Seattle Police Department. And furthermore, they must fight racist gentrification by taxing those same rich motherfuckers.
As Sarah Nelson, the flight attendants labor leader once said, solidarity is a force stronger than gravity. It lifts us up. It binds us together. It gives us strength and courage and power to accomplish things no one can achieve alone. Which is just a long way of saying, when we fight, we win! When we fight, we win! When we fight, we win! Solidarity!
Woo! He's dope! He's hella energetic.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
All right, y'all. We got Malcolm up.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
All right, so originally the march was planned for 7:30, meeting at 10th and Pine, but we want to not divide the people, so we're going to wait till they pack up.
Yes.
And I believe that was around like 8, so we decided to wait till like 8:30 to march, but if it's going on, we'll continue to keep you guys updated. So again, continue to stay in solidarity. Let's keep the unity going, y'all. Much love.
Thanks so much, Malcolm. All right, next up we have Ahmad. He's going to perform some music.
Woo!
Oh, hey, awesome. Come through.
So I just want to see if we can even set this up. I have. That's fine. We can start something.
All right, we're gonna move. We're gonna come back to Ahmad. Next up, we have Maurice. He's gonna be speaking about equity. Where are you, Maurice? What's up, brother?
Hello. All right, so I just have to say this. This is like third time I've seen All Lives Matter on my timeline.
A lot of people hear us say equity.
I just want to let the people know that all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter.
Economic balance, but that's not the truth.
Yeah, thank you.
Our history and our culture didn't start with slavery. And a lot of people have lost that in their minds. They don't understand that we've been culturally disenfranchised as well, not just economically impoverished. And the conditions of us progressing forward requires equity. We cannot actually move in solidarity if we are not on the same page to begin with. If we're starting off in the Monopoly game and everything's already purchased, how the fuck is that equity? So at the end of the day, when you're out here supporting, the concept is good. As you notice when you leave here, many of you leave here, right? And it goes right back to the conditions of racism. I walked out there and I was a nigger to somebody who was chanting with me. They were walking and marching with me, and I was a nigger when I went out there. Did you know how quick that transition was? It was 2 blocks. So what we need is actual tangible transition, because that's gonna precede the social construct. If we wanna move this narrative and actually make peace and make progression, so we are in unity, we need to have unity to begin with. So equity is required. So everyone out here, I want you to know, tangibles. Can I hear you say tangible equity? Tangible equity.
Tangible equity.
Tangible equity.
Tangible equity.
Whose lives matter?
Black lives matter.
Then we need tangible equity. Okay? So as we progress forward, thank you so much for everyone who's in support. Don't allow the conditions of the stagnancy or what you see to be negative to detract from why we're here, but also understand that it needs to progress forward as if you're taking what you get here, get charged up out there. So you need to start looking at every black face out there as if the black faces in here that you want to say matter. You know what I'm saying? If we matter here, we should matter out there too. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Maurice. All right, next up, we're gonna have Nate, followed by Sarah. Oh, did you?
Hello.
Yes!
I had to step up earlier. That was me with my megaphone girl here.
What you got to say, megaphone?
I need you guys to understand this shit right now. If you hear somebody say all lives matter, you ain't here for me. If you stand up with them and you don't boo them the fuck off this stage, you are not here with me. I'm calling everybody out in this fucking crowd. Calling every single one of you motherfuckers out. Because y'all didn't do enough. All right? If you're going to be here, be here. I need you guys to understand this. I'm not here to play games. There's some traumatizing shit that happened here a week ago. Yeah, it's real cool in Coachella vibe right now. There's a lack of police presence and a lack of presence from the people. Mentally. You're here physically, but are you here mentally? Do you know why you're here? Do you really know why you're here? Because if you know why you're here, you will not let nobody come on this stage and spew those words of all lives matter. You wouldn't do it. That's why I stepped up. I was trying to have a sandwich break, a nice ass sandwich from Bop Bop, but I couldn't enjoy myself because of the ignorance I saw on this fucking stage. It's not okay. And I should not be the only one stepping up. So I'm calling everybody out. Because if you're gonna be here, you're gonna be here, and I'm personally holding you accountable. All right? I'm not playing games no more. I've been here way too fucking long, and I'm tired, exhausted, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it. So I'm calling everybody out. Everybody will be held accountable. Ask questions. Question everything. My next point to the gentleman that told me to shut the fuck up, I raise you two shut the fuck ups.
Hey!
I raise you two.
I raise you four! I raise you four!
Because when a black woman speaks, you shut the fuck up and listen. Don't hear me. Listen to understand, not to respond. If you're still here, sir, I'm talking to you directly and anybody else that felt the same way.
I will be talking to you as well!
She will also address that.
I'm addressing it with you too.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. My next point is this. I need more black-owned businesses in these vendor tents.
Speak!
That's what I need.
Black and free!
That's how you support. I don't know these, I'm not, nothing against these white folks that are doing their business, but are any of those funds going to the black community or the movement? Is it progressing us? You need to ask these questions before you just freely give your money away. I'm holding you guys accountable. You need to do more. I know you want to help, but that's how you're an ally. Be an ally, but not just giving it up to any person with melanin in their fucking skin. Just because someone's black, don't mean they're for this shit. I'm telling you that as a black woman, all right? I'm telling you that as a black woman that's been here day one every fucking day. Stop doing that shit. Me personally, I'll tell you this. If you've heard me speak, and I'm sure you have, if you've been here every day, like myself, talk to me directly. And don't be aggressive about it. Wait till I'm done speaking and then I will address you. But come to me directly and I will give you valid information about what the fuck is going on and what I actually support. Because I am of the people, for the people, and I'm by the people. Alright? They taught you that shit in the history books, but they don't live by it. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Alright? So I'm putting that out right now. Fuck the bullshit. If I don't say it with my voice, this voice is very unique. Nobody here sounds like me. So understand that if it's not my voice, don't trust that shit. If I don't stand up by those people, don't trust that shit either. Because I don't walk by anybody if I don't believe in what they're saying. If they're not here for the movement and they're starting to tiptoe into all lives matter, like that young gentleman earlier, no, sir. This space is not for you. We did not occupy this for you. This is not for you. And I will remind you every motherfucking day. My last point before I get off the mic is this. Understand why it's so important that someone like me is up here doing what I'm doing. Because nobody like me is. You see this skin complexion? Do you know how many interviews? I'm done doing interviews. Let's get that out of the way. All right? I've done at least 3 interviews, and not one of them had my face or my words because I spoke the truth, and I'm a black, strong, unapologetic woman. There is a reason they don't put people like me in the forefront, no matter what truth you're speaking. It is by design. And that is why I do what I do, because the design is broken. So I mean to throw it away. The system is broken, so it needs to be thrown away. Because it does not work for all, it only works for the few. So it's got to go. So today we talk about what we can do in the present, but in the long run, in the bigger picture, you guys need to understand there's something wrong with this system in place. And all these little stupid ass policies, they're cute for right now because it's the footwork we have to presently do. But in the long run, there's way more. In the long run, there's way more work to be done. And as a black woman, a single black mother, I'm doing a lot of fucking work, raising grown ass men just so they can hear my fucking message. I'm tired of that shit. Shut the fuck up and listen to what I have to say, then ask your questions. Okay? Can we agree on that? Cool. I'm done. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you so much, mate.
We got Sarah.
Damn! Woo! Wow. Literally took thoughts out of my head into her mouth. So just, can I get a hand up for who was here when there was a car that ran through a bunch of protesters and a shooter ran out? Just a few people. All right, it's story time. So, that morning, that same morning, whatever the fuck that day was, I had been already protesting for like 3 days, and I noticed that everyone was using megaphones but could not actually hear or communicate with each other. So I went to Lowe's and with my own money bought a generator, a 3,500 watt generator, and I brought my 1,300 watt speaker down to the front lines because sound was needed simply to hear each other, simply to organize in a more capable way, intelligent way, sensical way. And when that car drove through and time stops and it takes you a while to even compute why a car is driving so fast in your direction in a moment when you did not expect to see a car, and then suddenly you hear gunfire, it was my sound system, my microphone, my generator that was, I don't know, able to communicate to people on the front lines. And in that moment, when I heard gunshot, I put down the microphone that I had been holding and I ran because I was fucking terrified, like most people. I got about 50 feet out, and then I realized that the gunshot did not continue. And so I turned around to see what was happening because it was just one gunshot. And I ran back to the speaker because I understood that the point of the speaker is to help hear each other in moments like that are terrifying, and you need to communicate loudly with each other. And Nate, the woman that you just heard, that just came up and is so articulate and so powerful, in that moment I was so scared that I was at a loss for words, and it was her voice that picked up the microphone and made the crowd aware that the protesters that were there, the medics and various people, disarmed that armed shooter in about fucking 5 seconds, right? But in that moment, I was so terrified that I needed this woman who is smaller than me, whose name I did not even know at the time. She was the voice holding people together, reminding them that they were okay. The situation was handled. We were still left there standing, victorious. We had policed ourselves as a people in a way that made sense and was effective. It was interesting what happened when the shooter was handed over to police and the gentleness with which he was treated. It's been a topic of suspicion. So I have a lot to say, a lot more than my time would allot, but I want to address the brother that was talking about people having a Cash App here, because I just put out a Cash App like 3 days ago because I've put a lot of energy. Nate has put a lot of energy. A lot of white and black people have put a lot of energy into being here every single day for about 16 fucking days. And yeah, no, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent or my bills or like what the fuck I'm gonna do after this, because I did not come here with any intention of organizing or leading. I made my George Floyd sign on cardboard from like a package I received, and I was just gonna protest. I was just gonna march, but I find myself in a situation where there's a lot of bullshit to call out, a lot of organization that needs to happen, a lot of people speaking out of turn, a lot of people still not understanding what it's like to not have space as a black woman to simply be heard, a lot of people that don't fully know what patriarchy feels like, they don't fully know what racism feels like. I don't have answers. I have a fuck ton of questions and like a bullshit radar like you wouldn't believe.
Guys.
If some shit doesn't sit well with me, it's probably not gonna sit well with a lot of other people. And that's part of the black girl magic. Black girl magic is a complicated, complex thing, but part of what it is a bullshit reader, because we are one of the most oppressed people. Not only am I black and I'm having to deal with racism, and I've been dealing with racism for 33 years, but I'm also a woman and I have to deal with patriarchy. And I have to deal with the fact that as American, we are not socialized in a way where we actually know how to communicate or collaborate. If possible, tonight, if everyone could look up tools of nonviolent communication, that would be great, because I'm seeing a lot of arguments here, including myself, that shouldn't even necessarily be happening. It's the tone of voice that we speak to each other with. A lot of these men out here don't understand how much time I have to actually listen to them, to be compassionate, to hear them, but not if you are not willing to hear me and be compassionate towards me. Because I have a lot of ideas, a lot of questions, and I know the power of my own voice. I know the power of my own intellect, and the power of my own spirit. So yes, if you are white, you are needed. If you are whatever, you are needed. You are welcome here. But if your voice takes up too much space, there is literally not enough time or amplification to share the stage with the Black people that need to speak. But yes, you're needed. And I'm so glad that I'm seeing more colors here, but if you are in a space where it's only men, or only white people, or only Black men, or only Black women, question it, but also check your energy. Like, can we just communicate with respect, listen to each other? I'm a super emotional person. Sometimes I just need to go home and take a nap and like have a good meal and check myself. If you are in an argument that is escalating to a point where you're just screaming at each other, either walk away, get louder, check the person, find an ally, question your situation, but like the tension here is needed. I just need for especially men to gather non-violent communication skills so that when a Black woman is talking to you, you shut the fuck up and you listen, but you understand that I will also shut the fuck up and listen when it's your turn to speak.
Appreciate you, Sarah. Thank you. We're going to break it up with a little chant. When I say, when Black lives are under attack, what do we do? When Black lives are under attack, what do we do? When Black lives are under attack, what do we do? All right, so we got one quick announcement. The international longshoremen are doing a shutdown of all of the West Coast ports in this country. Yeah, let's hear it for that. This is how labor can show that we stand concretely with movements in the streets for racial justice. And so they're asking that folks come out to Pier 46 on Friday at 10 a.m. to join them and show solidarity. So just wanted to make that announcement. Another announcement, there is a basket going around. Can the brother who brought up the basket raise their hand or show where they are? Collecting food donations. If folks have food that they want to donate, I believe it's going to go to the CHOP project. So, all right. Next up, we got Mary. Mary, you want to come up? Hey, Mary.
Hello. So my name is Mary Williams, and I'm here today because I wanted to petition everyone that's here about an event that I'm trying to organize with Reagan Jackson, who is the director of YWE Lead, if anyone is familiar with that. We want to host a blackout here on Juneteenth, and the theme is collective healing for Black people and Black liberation and joy. And one, I want to say thank you to the Black women that have been up here today bringing the fire, because I feel like you're doing the work that a lot of us can't do right now because we need to rest and we need to breathe and we're having a hard time. And so that's what this event is about. It's about centering Blackness at CHOP, not saying that everyone has to leave, but saying that we really want people to be here holding the perimeter and prioritizing safety. Yes! Because so much of the Black community is scared to be out here because they don't trust that white people are really here to center Blackness, are really here to protect living Black bodies, not just the hypervisibility of dead Black bodies. And so what we're asking is for this field and this space from 8 to 8 p.m. on Friday, Juneteenth, We've got an amazing lineup of facilitators, and we've been raising funds so that we can pay Black people
Where do I donate? Where do I donate?
We have a GoFundMe. You can at me at Miss Mary HW on everything, and all the links are there. All the information is there. The lineup is there. The vision is there. But really, it's just about grief circles, meditation, yoga for Black people here in CHOP. And we want all of the allies here, but we want you to be on the perimeter, protecting, defending if any threats happen. And we really want to not only regain some trust in the Seattle white community, who can really center Blackness and hold space and be okay with that, but we also want to be able to heal in public, because even though Black liberation is about fighting for the bare minimum of the right to live safely, of the right to not be antagonized and hurt by the police, which is what we're fighting for, Black liberation is also about thriving. And before we can thrive, we need to have spaces where we can heal, and we need that to be respected, and we need to feel safe enough to do that. And healing in public is an act of resistance, because normally we have to hide our vulnerability, we have to hide our softness, we have to make sure that we're safe all the time. And so, one, I'm really hopeful about this space and about everyone that's here. And two, we really want to be able to do it, and it's already planned. We've raised a lot of the money. And so that's why I'm here. They said show up and petition. They said show up and tell people that we want this space. Only the field, not anything else. Everybody on their tents, whatever. That's cool. So yeah, again, at me at Miss Mary HW. There's a Facebook event called Blackout at the CHOP. We've got a lot of traction, a lot of people in the community supporting, participating. So that's really all I had to say. And thank you again to the Black people that are here today. It's good to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. All right, we got a quick announcement from Anna.
206.
Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Thank you, everybody. My name is Anna Hoffman. I am a rank and file educator of AFT, Local 1789. Just a couple announcements. One, the debate on SPOG has started. Okay, so if you want to tune in, the URL is right there, tinyurl.com/MLK SPOG Out. Okay, and one, I just want to make a little sort of plug to you all. You know, as you know, putting things together like this costs money, right? And we're putting out a call, if you can, to make a small donation. Whatever you can will help. Anything extra, we're going to donate to Decriminalize Seattle. Right, the people have been really at the forefront of doing this work. We have a Venmo set up. We're putting it up there. Any little bit that you can, right? We got to support the people, especially Decriminalize Seattle, that's really been at the forefront of making this happen and making this space happen. So we need to make sure we're accountable to them. So anything that you can help, that you can donate would help a lot. Right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Okay, next up we have Daniel Contreras. Are you here?
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel!
Sounds like folks know Daniel. All right.
How you doing, man?
For the record, I don't.
Thank you, thank you. You know, I'm 52 years old, and I swear to God, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in Seattle. We got the sun out, we got everybody here enjoying each other. Shit, I thought I was gonna die seeing a world where authorities got away with the things that they get away with. I grew up in Bellevue, Washington. Yeah. I moved there in 1978. I know y'all fucking hate it, and I do too. But the point being is, I started school there in the 6th grade, and I saw it instantly. You know, by the time it was high school, all my friends were driving Mercedes-Benz, and they didn't even have a fucking job. And I worked 40 hours a week at a tropical fish store, and I had to buy myself a 1970 Mustang Grande.
Woohoo! For the Grande!
Which is a fucking great car.
Yeah!
Yes, it is. So, I was pulled over probably 40 or 50 times in my life, literally. And it ranged from everything to, oh, you had bald tires. Oh, well, you just didn't look right. There was a robbery in the neighborhood. All the fucking excuses you can imagine. And I had to persevere and live through them. They'd pull me over for bald tires and they'd search my car. One would talk to me and the other one would search it. And I'd be like, sorry, officers, no drugs today. You know, but it was a horrible existence. Everybody thought, oh, you're a spoiled Bellevue fucking boy. Not at all. Bill Gates lived on the other side of town, big time. I grew up living in condos and apartments, occasional houses. I love Seattle. It's such a different world. It's amazing the two are so close to each other. And, you know, I just got to say that brown lives matter too. Thank you. Peace.
So, there was supposed to be a People's Assembly here at 6:30 or 6 o'clock. And this is not that. But this is really important, I believe. So I'm kind of conflicted because it might be possible for us to have a People's Assembly after this, but it's going to be kind of late at that point, like 8 o'clock. And I need people to know that their personal safety is a thing. And there's a march. Another group is having a march. Another group is having a march. I will be staying here and seeing if anyone wants to have a People's Assembly. If not, maybe today that idea will dissolve. Yeah, but that was just an announcement about if you were here because we said every day at 6:30. This is not the People's Assembly, but this is really important.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that announcement, Sarah. We have Leith. Leith? Are you here? Oh, hey, come through.
Hi, my name is Leith Call, and I'm a worker in a workplace. And what I just told you by telling you I'm a worker in a workplace is that I do not work in law enforcement, because there's a difference between workers and cops. They're not the same thing. And before I go into any details about my workplace, or what industry it's in, or what unions exist in it, or whether I'm in one, or if so, which one, before I go into any details about my workplace, or what industry it's part of, or whether there's any unions in it, and if so, which ones, and which one I'm in, I want to point out something that's more important than all of that. In this country right now, the majority of cops are in collective bargaining organizations. The majority of workers are not. Right. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The majority of cops in this country right now are in collective bargaining organizations. The majority of workers are not. Okay? And that's a problem. Yes. And not only that, for the last 40 years, the number and percentage of cops that are in collective bargaining organizations has been going up. The number of workers and the percentage of workers in collective bargaining organizations have been going down. That's what's been happening for the last 40 years. So we've got to ask, why is that? Because it wasn't always that way. You see, 41 years ago, in 1979, the head of the AFL-CIO at the time, George I Never Walked a Picket Line Meany, and his name was George I Never Walked a Picket Line Meany because in his official authorized autobiography, Meany and His Times, he brags, literally brags, about the fact that never once did he walk a single picket line, never once did he hold a single picket sign the whole time he was a union leader. And he made the decision in 1979, his last year as head of AFL-CIO, that he was going to merge the International Union of Police Associations into the AFL-CIO. Prior to that, the cop guilds and the unions of the AFL-CIO had been separate organizations. George I Never Walked a Picket Line Meany merged them in 1979, and since that time, since the year after that, the number of workers in collective bargaining organizations has been going down, and the number of cops in them has been going up. It was just 2 years later that Ronald Reagan fired all the public sector air traffic controllers, 11,000 air traffic controllers in the Union PATCO, and banned them from all civil service for the rest of their lives. But no American government at the federal, county, or state and municipal level has done that to law enforcement for the last 40 years. Now, prior to that, the number of workers was going up. It had been going up since a major turning point in the late 60s. You see, in 1968, there was a big deal that went down in Memphis. It was called the Memphis Sanitation Workers Strike. It lasted for 2 months, and garbage collectors faced off with the Memphis Police Department. It was a long, bloody, hard-fought strike. 2 workers died on an unsafe truck at the beginning of it, and 2 martyrs were killed during the strike. One by white supremacist snipers. You might have heard of him. His name was Dr. Martin Luther King on April 4th. And another one, 16-year-old African-American man named Larry Payne, beaten to death by the Memphis Police Department for supporting that strike on March 28, 1968. Now, that strike was a major turning point for collective bargaining in this country, especially among non-law enforcement public sector workers. AFSCME was at the most famous public sector union. AFSCME, you heard of it? It was AFSCME Local 1733 that was doing that strike in Memphis. Well, they were at just about 250,000 members in 1968. By 1978, they had passed the 1 million mark. It was a huge turning point, and labor movement was surging. In the 50s and 60s, the public sector unions of any occupation averaged less than 50 strikes a year. Throughout the 70s, they averaged 375 strikes a year. It was surging, and it all turned around. It all turned around in 1979 when George I. Walk the Picket Line Meany merged the cops into the AFL-CIO. This is a situation, this is an arrangement that is not working for the workers. Now, I've written an article about all this. It's at workersandcopsaredifferent.com. I'll say that again. Workersandcopsaredifferent.com. Incidentally, I'm a member of a movement called the Million Worker March Movement, and I'm also a member of the Asa Philip Randolph Institute, which is a civil rights constituency organization of the AFL-CIO. You don't have to be in a bargaining unit to join it. You just have to be a worker who demonstrates your commitment to the civil and human rights struggle. And this is a very significant moment. The co-author of the article I just mentioned, the other co-author, he is not only representing that organization in the Labor Council right now, arguing for SPOG to be kicked out of the Labor Council, the four other constituency groups, the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, Pride at Work, and the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement, they've all banded together. The minority constituency organizations in the AFL-CIO have all banded together in unity around this position, that cops should not be in the AFL-CIO. And they are all taking the same position together tonight. Now, this is an important moment because Trumpka, the head of the AFL-CIO, he has made his position very clear. If you've seen what he said in the last week, he is circling the AFL's wagons around the cops to defend them at the national level, and he's making it very clear he does not want to detach himself. The national leadership of the AFL-CIO does not want to detach himself from the only dues base that's been growing for the last 40 years, while all the others have been shrinking because of it. So, whatever happens tonight in our Labor Council, a big split in the labor movement is coming. There's an important book, short book you should all study at this moment. It's called The CIO's Left-Led Unions by Steve Rossworm. Talks about what happened the last time in 1949 when the 11 labor unions that were really independent of the bosses and the cops were expelled from the Congress of Industrial Organizations for having that independence. This is a moment where we can bring the real labor movement back, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be with Richard Trumpka's AFL-CIO. See, he has made it very clear to all the workers in this country that the AFL-CIO is going to go down into the sunset of history as the cops plus the allies of the cops. So you all have to think about where you work and where your co-workers are at and how much organization your co-workers have, because this is a moment when a real labor federation, a real union movement has got to emerge. And it won't come from the AFL-CIO, it's got to emerge from you at work. Now, the zone is important too, the park is important too, the space is important too as a place to regroup, connect, and heal, and share with like-minded people. But remember, when we're in the space, we're with like-minded people in a space. when you're at work, if you can build your coworkers, if you can build enough unity and enough understanding with your coworkers, you become a giant. When you have unity at work, you have only to fold your arms and the whole wide world stands still. But we have to do it autonomously from the cops. This will never happen in a labor federation that is joined at the hip to the cops, and where the cops expect, because they're affiliated to you, that you have to support their demands for qualified immunity to commit homicide. It's not going to work like that. The cops plus the allies of the cops is not a model for a labor movement that can work. It has to be autonomous. And we've got to form a new one. And it's going to start with all of you here. Last thing I'll say to you about that workplace. I'm a longshoreman, by the way. And on Juneteenth, we're shutting down all 29 ports from Bellingham to San Diego in Juneteenth. First time we've ever done it for Juneteenth. First time a major industrial union has ever done it for Juneteenth. I hope everybody knows the word Juneteenth in America after this. Emancipation Day, the day when the Emancipation Proclamation finally reached Texas. I hope everybody learns that word. 10 a.m. we're rallying at Pier 46 at the intersection of Atlantic Street and East Marginal Way, starting at 10 a.m. And after we rally, we're going to march from there over to the Department of Corrections office at 1550 4th Avenue to protest against the slave labor, retaliation, mistreatment, and abuse of the human rights of the imprisoned workers that's going on in this state. And I hope you all join us in doing that. It's going to be a Juneteenth to remember. And workers are cops and are different. And you can read all about that at workersandcopsardifferent.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lee. Hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey! Ho, ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey! Ho, ho!
These racist cops have got to go!
Hey! Ho, ho!
These racist cops have got to go!
Oh yeah. All right. Now we have a quick announcement from Whitney Kahn. You want to come up? Hi everybody. How are you feeling?
Yes!
I'm giving you a quick update. My name is Whitney Kahn. I'm from the Seattle Education Association. I'm also a DSA member, and I'm here to give a quick update about the Martin Luther King County Labor Council. They are now debating this issue of expelling SPOG from the Martin Luther King County Labor Council. And so far, about 3 hours ago, the executive board of the King County Labor Council voted 18-8 to recommend expelling the Seattle Police Officers Guild. That is a start. That is a recommendation. The whole delegate body is now debating it, and I've gotten a report from a delegate that the speakers are overwhelmingly in favor. We've got speakers from Protect 17, AFT 1789, SEIU 925, SAG, AFTRA musicians. We've got a lot of people speaking in favor, ILW 52. So far, the firefighters have spoken against expelling SPOG. We're not done with this battle yet. Their meeting goes until 8 unless extended. There are right now 360 people on that call. They are watching this rally. They are feeling the heat. You can join here and listen in as you listen to more speakers. And that's all I got for you now, but I'll let you know when there are more updates. The battle rages on. Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter? And when I say Black Lives Matter, you'll say SPOG Out now. Ready? Black Lives Matter?
SPOG Out now!
Black Lives Matter?
SPOG Out now!
Awesome. Thank you for that update, Whitney. All right, we got a lot of speakers left. So we're going to go till 8. It's about 7:18 now. We're going to try and get through as many speakers as possible. So next up, we got Ryan. Where you at, Ryan? Hey.
Right, I'm right here. You know something? I'm not a good speaker at all. But I'd like everybody would stand up and look at each other and say, one love. Let's go. One love. Elbows up. One love. Hey, do we love each other? Let's go. Come on, y'all. Elbows out. One love. We love each other, right? Let's show each other. Let's show each other. Show each other we really love each other. Come on, man. Quit faking. Let's do this shit. Hey, one love.
One love.
Maybe don't drop the mic. All right. Next up, we got Gina.
Hey, my name is Gina Kim, and I'm here to speak about what I hope would be an important issue to everybody. And I'm here to plug this 12-step meeting that we're going to have at 9:30, right behind me. And to qualify, I'd like to share with you, so 3 years ago I ran for office, and before I came out as gender fluid, I was the first female presenting person in the country to ever do so, publicly open as an addict in recovery. And it was quite the experience. And I wanted to speak on this issue, particularly because addiction and substance use has disproportionately affected the Black community. And before the opioid epidemic, there was the crack epidemic. And we are only paying attention to it now. Yes. And I want everyone in the audience who is listening to me, who can actually hear me, if you are ashamed, if you are suffering, if you are high, I want you to hear me. You are wanted, needed, and loved. And there is a solution. There are a lot of people handling this like COVID Coachella. And I want you to know, especially you, that if you're high, if you're drunk, we welcome you most of all. And to qualify even further, after I ran for office, I did not win, but I challenged a 12-year incumbent. And I got damn close, and I scared the shit out of him. Okay? After that, I worked at the Senate for Senator Bob Hasagawa, and we cried with Charlena Lyles' family after De-Escalate Washington was passed, only to have it overturned. And one thing that I really, really need you to hear is that folks, especially with mental health issues, when I had to sit with the people from the police and to hear that they had very little training on how to handle that, and Charlena Lyles was 100 pounds soaking wet, she was pregnant and shot in front of her children. And as someone whose father has schizophrenia, it scares me. She called the police to help her. And those of you with invisible disabilities out there, I want you to know, I've been put in a 5-point restraint before. I've had a mental health hygiene arrest done to me in a drug-induced psychosis. If I can get clean, so can you. So we actually do recover, and too many times, especially the Black community, especially, only the worst of us in the worst place of our lives are placed on the news. And I want you to know that more faces like us, okay, need to rise up. And we'll be meeting right here at 9:30. I know there's a lot of events, but we'll try to move it if you are not comfortable. Even if you're not an addict, you have a family member, if you've been affected by this generational trauma, I want you to know there's a place for you. So that is my message here today. And thank you for giving me a platform to speak. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina. All right. Next up, we got Como.
Just because the name of the meeting is really, really awesome, it's called the Fuck 12-Step Meeting. You know what we mean. Not the steps, the police.
All right. Como, you around? No? Okay. Rooks, you want to come up? You got time now? All right.
How's everybody doing?
Yes.
That's good, that's good. One love, right?
Yes.
One love?
Yes.
Yeah, that was beautiful that you came up here and did that, right? You guys look around.
Look around at each other. You guys see who's in the crowd? All the different nationalities of people, right? Look here, bro. The measure of a man is not his pride, ego. Each one teach one. We grow. We don't give a fuck about the law. It's been us against them people. So now we take affirmative action. We can't let them get no free throws. You understand me? Black Lives Matter. That doesn't mean we're above anybody. Our issues haven't been highlighted for so long. So this is like, finally when you're listening to an angry person and all they can do is yell at you and scream at you, and you're like, bro, I'm trying to understand. Bro, this is that hurt that's coming out. So when you guys hear Black Lives Matter, it's not us putting ourselves above you or anything like that. It's us letting you know this is our time to hurt. You understand? Because at the end of the day, we're all out here, right? I didn't see a few people come up here. Not all of them were black. And they have struggles too. I talk to a lot of people around here. Not all of them are black. They have struggles too. A few people had very similar struggles to my own. And that's why we're all here today, because we've all faced an oppression from a system that was created to hinder all of us, not just our race, but in how we think about people, how we care about people, how we feel about people. Inside of CHOP, if you look around, bro, everything was built off of love for each other. Everything here was simply off of, hey, I got this. Let me bring this. What do you need? I got it probably. If I don't got it, somebody else got it. It was love, right?
Yes.
One love, right?
Yes.
We're all here under one accord. Justice, freedom, and equality, right?
Yes.
That's what everybody wants, right?
Yes.
Nobody wants to feel oppressed, right?
That's right.
Nobody wants to feel left out, right?
That's right.
We got the Hispanic people pulled up with the tacos yesterday, okay? Shout out to them. We got the African American community. They came out, they had to get theirs too. He's selling shirts, Black Lives Matter. Go support, right? Reparations, that's how we get ours. I want you guys to understand, they didn't take us from where we came from because of our race. That's not what none of this was about. You know what they seen when they seen us? And us as in all of us people and where we originated from? They seen that we could do shit like this. And that's what made them want to take us from where we were from, because they couldn't do it where they were at on their own. That's why they don't like us so much. That's why there was a system created. They took everything that we knew naturally as a people and then tried to implement their ideas into it, and it made us turn against each other because we're thinking it's all different. But honestly, this shit look all the same to me. I see black people in tents, white people in tents, black people with food, white people with food, Mexicans, Asians. I done had a kebab with some shit on it. I don't even know what it's called. Okay? So remember that when you guys are out here, bro. When we say Black Lives Matter, don't feel little, don't feel less. Take it as somebody telling you they're hurt. They felt that pain. They've been through shit. Don't think of it as like, oh, they think they're better. No. No. Because we've spent years as the real niggas, okay? We've spent years being quiet while everybody gets to talk and gets to have their way. So just understand that when we say that, it's either we're feeling good and we want everybody else to feel good. Black Lives Matter, right? When we say, whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Oh my God. One love. You feel me? It's not about belittlement, bro. We don't want to start reverse racism. We don't want to start switching the superiority to somebody else. We want the even playing field, right? Everybody's sitting down right now, right? And nobody's better than nobody. You guys are all even right now. You're all equal right now. If I was to shoot any one of you guys could die right now. If you guys shot me right now, I would die the same way. So remember that. Keep up the love. Remember it's about justice and equality and freedom. You understand me?
Yes.
I love you guys. If you see me around here, say hi. I love all of you guys. Don't be scared to speak your mind, but do it in a respectful way. If you guys see any drama that's going on, don't play into it. right? Because we're all grown. We've been around bullies before. We all know if you don't give them any attention, they shut up and go away, right? So enjoy your time here, bro. Soak in that love that you need. Not that you want, that you need. Everybody here, you need it right now. That's why you're here. You came here searching for something, whether it was to help, whether it was to heal, whether it was to see, whether it was to teach. You came here for something, and it's all part of your growth. It's all part of your being. Enjoy that shit. Love each other, and I'm not it.
Thanks, man. Beautiful words. All right. Next up, we got Ross. Are you here?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I am a member of ATU 587. I am a bus driver here on occupied, unceded Duwamish land. I think it's really important to acknowledge that, because when we understand that we are on stolen land, we understand that the people that prop up the system are the real criminals, right? I love my job. I think it's super important, but I'm really frustrated with the tools that Metro provides me to deal with conflict. You can't hear me? Is this better? I love being a bus driver, but I'm frustrated with the tools that Metro provides me to deal with any issues that arrive on my bus. The tool that they give me is the police. I want to give you 2 examples. A person at the end of my route was not waking up. I went over to try to wake them up, and I noticed that they were breathing very slowly. I was concerned that this person was having an overdose and that could die in front of me. So I called for medical assistance. The paramedics showed up, and so did the police. And the police arrested her because she had a warrant out for her arrest. So my bus became a tool for policing the community. That's fucking bullshit. A few months ago, there was a fight on my bus, and I was able to de-escalate it and break it up. But in order to do that, I broke Metro policy. Metro policy was for me to call the police. One of the people in this altercation was black. So I knew if I called the police, there was a chance that they could show up and murder him. And I refused to be an agent of the police in my job. These are just 2 examples of why we need to completely restructure the labor movement in Martin Luther King County. A labor movement that is centered on Black lives. We cannot do that with SPOG in the Labor Council. We know they are entirely antithetical to the movement for Black lives. So right now we're dealing with 2 opposing forces. One is an understanding now that is now spreading across the country, especially among white people, that we do not need the police. And the other force is the Seattle Police Officers Guild that will do everything that they can to convince us that they matter, that their jobs matter. But their jobs don't matter. What matters?
Black Lives Matter!
What matters?
Black Lives Matter!
Just really quick, I want to say something to white folks. I've been encouraged by seeing so many white folks showing up, but I need to say, it's not about just showing up, it's about how you show up. And you must show up understanding that you are racist. Okay? It's not our fault that we were steeped in white supremacy, but it is our responsibility to right now be deep in reflection about the ways that we cause racial harm, whether intentional or not. And oftentimes, the most harm we cause is unintentional. And I'm saying this because our delegation right now is in that meeting. We have 6 delegates. My union is one of the largest % black representatives. However, 4 of our 6 delegates are white. They're making decisions centered on themselves. They're in leadership and they have a choice to make. And I want to say to my president, Ken Price, you have a choice to make right now. Are you going to vote to uphold institutional racism? Or are you going to vote to be the force for change? That's all I want to say. Thank you all so much.
Whose lives matter? All right, we got Mark Anthony up next.
Hey everybody, my name is Mark Anthony. I am a Seattle native right here from the Central District. Lived in Washington my whole life. I am a graduate of the University of Washington with a degree in history. To start off, can I give a round of applause for the word education, because it is that powerful. Education causes fear. I would like to explain something to y'all. If you could please take a moment and raise your fist up in solidarity. I want everybody to raise their fist up, because I want to explain to you all exactly what this fist represents. I know a lot of you don't know. Let me break it down like this. Each and every one of us has 5 fingers. Well, most of us do. Most of us have 5 fingers, right? If you try to attack something with just one of those fingers, you're probably not going to do that much damage. You can use 2 fingers, even 3 fingers. Probably not going to do that much damage. But if you ball those 5 fingers into a fist, you can fuck some shit up. That represents the power of the people united. This is what we can do when we come together as one and stand as one. There is nothing that can stop us, especially here in Seattle, where we have the smartest people in the world, and we will prove it, will we not? Now, I would like to really bring this issue home for a lot of us, because we've been screaming Black Lives Matters for a long time, but we really need to talk about why. The reason why is because even right now in 2020, by every definition of the word genocide, black people are still being genocided today. So let's take a moment and define the word genocide according to the United Nations Geneva Convention, shall we? Number 1, killing members of the group. Then we can check that one off the list, right? Yeah. All right, number 2, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Now, we already know about the bodily harm. We see that by the shots we're getting, by people getting attacked and choked. We know that. But have you heard the pain in some of the voices you've heard today? You can't tell me that's not mental harm. Number 3, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, either in whole or in part. Either in whole or in part. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction. Has anyone here ever heard of a little town called Flint, Michigan? Yes! Has anybody heard of the disparity in healthcare for black women, yes, especially during childbirth? Yeah. Can we check that one off the list? Are we 3 for 3? Number 4, imposing measures intended to prevent births from within the group. Aren't we also fighting a battle right now for Planned Parenthood and things like that? Check that one off the list as well, can't we? And last but not least, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Now this one can actually be looked at a few different ways. How many children do we have locked up in our criminal system today that are black people or people of color? They are forcibly removed from their group. In addition to that, I see a lot of black children that are adopted by white people, but how often do you see it the reverse way? So that is 5 out of 5. And I just dropped my phone, but I don't need it anymore. 5 out of 5. We have been genocided since we have been brought here, and it still continues today. That is why I'm up here, is to share with you guys the information that I have attained, because I know not everybody has access to that. But I want to share some more information with you guys, because it's gotten really personal here in Seattle, I must say. I would like you to raise your hand if this past week you or somebody you know was the victim of a war crime. Look around and see how many hands you have up. Now, I want to define exactly what a war crime is a little bit, because some of you may not know. Ever since 1925 and the Geneva Protocol, the use of chemical warfare has been banned in international wars. So my question is, if it is a war crime to use chemical warfare from people who are from another part of the world, what makes our government and our police officers here make them think it is okay to use it against their own citizens? Can anybody answer that question for me? Because I would love to hear it. And you know, I would also like to see them be held accountable. Because as we all know, following orders is no excuse. We learned that from the Nazis, did we not? The Nazis were just following orders. And after they committed those orders, they were tried after we invented the rules of genocide and the laws against them. We tried them after. So I want to ask you guys, do you think we should let these cops get off with the war crimes they have committed? No! I say, hell no. They should be held accountable, should they not? Yes! One more thing I want to say before I, get off the mic and pass it on to the next person is that this last weekend really turned into a festival here. It really turned into a party because of the national media attention that we get and the narrative that the conservative media put behind us. They started calling us things like Chaz and autonomous zone, like we're just declaring ourselves a rebel nation and doing our own thing out here, kicking in and smoking in a park. We didn't come here for that. We came here to exercise our right to protest. And you know what? They seem to always be all about American freedoms until somebody else wants to express their freedom. It is my freedom to protest, and they have a problem with that. It is my freedom to take a knee, and they have a problem with that freedom of speech. It is our freedom to marry who we want to marry, and they have a problem with that as well. So I decided, you know what? We need to really make sure we get the point driven across to these guys, because they think it's a game, and it is not. I did not come up here to play. Chaz sounds like a joke. Chaz sounds like a straight up joke. And the members of this group decided we don't want to have that narrative behind us. So we changed the name to CHOP. Capitol Hill Organized Protest. Capitol Hill Organized Protest. CHOP. You guys think that gets the point a little bit more across? Yeah? Well, let me share a little bit more history for you. There was another revolution that was started because people started valuing money over lives, property over people. Has anyone here ever heard of the French Revolution? Does anybody here know what happened to those who did not get on board with the French Revolution? They got what? They got their head chopped off by what? By a guillotine. We're not playing with you. This is serious. And we're going to keep marching every day, taking over these precincts and these highways until you hear us and make some changes that are permanent and effective and stopping this genocide and doing what's right. And you will be held accountable for the war crimes you have committed.
All right, next up we got Kareem.
How y'all live in Seattle?
Yes!
Solid. I don't know if y'all see me around, but my name is Kareem. That name translates to generous. So if y'all see me and I already act like that, then I must be doing my part as a general human. I see a bunch of humans and many others if I get the chance to delineate around me. How y'all living tonight, Seattle? Solid. So y'all came out here like any other day else for various reasons that we are all conglomerating on in various ways. The gentlemen and many gentlemen and ladies before you have spit out their whole proceedings on how this event is turning out, no matter how you feel in any capacity. Do y'all understand me, Seattle? Solid. Like I said, my name is Kareem. I've been running a hospitality tent personally for the few days that I've been here in Progression. I didn't even think my personal self was going to be out here, no matter how I felt internally, because I was looking after a female girlfriend, not girlfriend, complicated situations. But she felt so self-righteous as to put herself on the front line a few days ago while we was, encountering our opposition of what would that be then? Officers of the law. And that was then. Now we building our essentially city in a new representative way, as we've already developed day by day, are going through a process where honestly, I can't lie to y'all, any and all help could be needed. Any and all help can be needed, will be needed. And I love y'all. So, with that being said, all I really wanted to say is that the progressions you see before you are a progression of many different delegates coming from many different ways. Y'all already here for it. Help in any which way you can. I, at 23 years of age and living in Tacoma, don't even necessarily need to be here to tell y'all that we all have a ultimately delegated mission to look after our people. With that being said, I must hand off the mic to much worthy opponents as we get through the components of what we need to disown money, things that you feel anything you could own. You live on a mindset of where the fuck you grow home, it is your own. But as we own anything that we do, sometimes bullshit we can and cannot condone. Do what you can. Let's go ahead in this region and make a throne. Much love, y'all. Stay well.
What's up, friend?
Alright, next up, we got Steve Lay from SEIU. You want to come up? You still here? Hey, Steve.
Oh, God.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Lee. I'm a member of Service Employees 9 to 5, which I think is going to be voting the right way tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I hope. And also a member of Seattle Revolutionary Socialists. I want to say thank everybody for coming out. This is fantastic. This is just about the best movement that we've seen in this country since the 1960s. It's about the best movement we've seen since the 1960s. We have already in 3 weeks accomplished amazing things. We have banned in many cities chokeholds. We've banned chemical weapons. We've gotten cops indicted quicker than ever before. We've done a lot. And everybody here should be happy and proud about that. But that's just the beginning. This system is a fundamentally, thoroughly rooted racist system. This country was founded on two gigantic acts of racial oppression: the genocide of Native American people and the enslavement of African people. And that system is still with us. And the police, who represent that system, represent racism. Fundamentally, they cannot do otherwise. As long as this system exists and they defend it, they are defending a system that is fundamentally racist and also a system that concentrates the wealth at the top. That's why I think it was wrong for the King County Labor Council to put conditions on the Police Officers Guild and say, well, if you say you're not racist, we'll let you stay in. Donald Trump says he's not a racist. You ever hear him say that? He says, I am the least racist person you'll ever run into. It doesn't, words don't matter. What matters is actions. And the Seattle Police Officers Guild has shown itself to be continually racist, and it has to be. If we want to get rid of that system, if we want to really end police brutality, we're going to have to ultimately abolish the police. And that means that we're going to have to get rid of the whole capitalist system and the whole state system that exists. In order to do that, we are going to need a thorough revolution in this country. And we need to begin organizing for that now. While we fight for Black lives, while we fight against racism under this system, we also need to organize to overthrow this system. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Steve. All right, so we're coming up pretty close to 8 now, so we're going to have just a couple of speakers left. We have an announcement coming up from the labor folks, the folks from the Labor Council. In the meanwhile, let's have Micah. Are you here? Do you want to come up and speak?
Oh, I see what she meant about it being like short. I'm 5'10". Dude. Hey y'all, my name's Micah. My full name's Micah Enrique Luis Signan Santiago. I'm very obviously mixed right there. I am white passing. I really just want to have a simple, can you guys hear me in the back just really quick? Louder. Louder, got it. I wanted to make sure. Ooh, I'm like touching that. 9 years ago, I started losing my vision due to a genetic disease called Leber's, which rendered me legally blind. So I actually can't see any of your beautiful faces, but you all have masks on anyway, so I don't think either of you can. And about 2 years after that, I had to learn this concept of not focusing on what I can't do and start focusing on what I can do. Yes. And mind you, I'm not making this about me. Whose lives matter? Black lives matter! Thank you, want to make sure that's clear. Some of the things that I couldn't do anymore. I could not drive a car. I could not see my younger brother and sister and their smiles, and I raised them. I could not see, couldn't see beautiful women in bathing suits or anything like that on the beach. I realized very quickly that as my mental health spiraled, that something had to change. And it wasn't until I had my first Latino teacher at Taiyi High School down in SeaTac. Do you have any Southsiders here? Yes, hear you, thank you. Mr. Lozano was his name, and he said this thing to our class like, man, you're already at the bottom. Why don't you actually try to do something with your lives? The worst thing that happens is you end up back at the bottom. And it was really crazy because you hear that from anyone else and you're like, oh, that rubs me the wrong way. But you hear this from this Mexican guy who looks like the guy on a Tapatio bottle, and you're like, oh, maybe I should try something. And then I ended up going to community college and getting my associates with a 3.5 with honors while being homeless. And mind you, that's not me. Like, I am on the shoulders of all the friends that supported me through that. And then I went on to apply to the University of Washington because I thought, what the heck? Worst thing that happens, I go to Central. No smack on Central. But I applied and I got accepted. And I worked part-time back at Taiyi High School as an in-class support tutor, providing academic and emotional support to students. What does that mean in English? I got to build personal relationships with kids, and what does that actually mean? Half the time I made fun of them, half the time they made fun of me. Blind guy didn't see that one coming. And fast forwarding, because I don't want to take up much time, I want to come to this march and talk about this. I did not anticipate coming here and signing for my friend who's deaf and interpreting. I did not think my friend would come with me 2 days in a row who has terrible social anxiety. I thought my best friend who's from Ghana would come with me here. But I didn't realize the fear that she held as a black woman and the fear that society has put on her. Thank you to every single black woman who's out here today. And my other close friend who I thought would come, who I can't say his name because he's in a lawsuit right now that he's about to win, but he can't speak out on any of this stuff. I didn't learn about why he didn't come to the protest until that. And it gave me a different perspective being down here. Not only am I visually impaired, right, and marching in the front and yelling with everybody else and doing all these things, right? And it's a lot easier to social distance when people are afraid of getting hit by the cane that's tapping at their heels. So a couple of you have experience. But it made me realize, wow, not focusing on what you can do, but what you can't do. I want to call out a few people here and point some things out, and then I'm wrapping up. Mo, out here. I don't know if you're out here, bro. Shit. But that dude, hey, bro, this guy's hopping around, yelling the whole time, getting the chants going and everything, and getting me hyped and making me feel safe in this environment. Chris, calling me out. You're like, yo, man, even the blind guy sees the injustice that's going on. Yo, come on, though, for real. Tony, who's out here making me feel welcome. Daniel, who's out here, people looking out for me. And my flip to you guys now is looking at the things you can do. Oh, hey, Mo. That's Mo.
I talked to him yesterday.
10 seconds. Yeah, so I just want to flip that back onto us, because many of us are wondering what can we do, and we look at the things that we can't do. And I just want to encourage y'all. We have a voice, right? For those of us who don't have a voice, you got some legs.
You right.
For those of you who don't got some legs, you got some arms.
For sure.
For those of you who don't got some arms, you got some eyes.
For sure.
For those of you who don't got some eyes, you got some feelings.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You got some feelings that need to be shared and expressed. So I just want to end with that. Don't focus on what you can't do, but focus on what you can do. Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter! Woo!
Wow, thank you so much, Micah. All right, we got an announcement coming up from Labor Council. Whose lives matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter?
Yes!
SPOG out now. Ready? Black Lives Matter?
SPOG out now!
Black Lives Matter?
SPOG out now!
So the meeting is continuing to go, and in an unprecedented turn of events, they voted by over 80% to extend the meeting to allow for full discussion. So that meeting could go on as long as 10 o'clock. We're not going to hold this space till then. There's a march that's happening. Encourage everyone to go. Some of us will stay here and make sure that we'll be here if you want to check back in. And other folks, we are going to post the results on the Facebook event. But it is really good news that they are not shutting it down, that this is being heard, that this is being discussed. Everyone here has been heard. This rally was a part of the discussion that was going on. You made a difference today by coming out. And myself and Anna and just so many other educators and workers really put in a lot of work to try to pull this thing together, but it was really sort of just, what do you say, fly by the seat of your pants? If you want to stay involved, we're going to be having more things come out of this, trying to make sure Black Lives Matter in labor. This is a first step, not an end step. And so this is a URL, tinyurl.com/BLM union, which will take you to a Google form. So we're gonna have a follow-up meeting from this. Stay organized, get the anti-racist labor union activists more organized in the city so we can fight to change it, so that it's not like last year where the Labor Council gave a community service award to SPOG. Instead, it should be the community that is empowered in those halls. So that's the update, and I'm sorry there's not decisive things, but all signs are looking quite strong. The battle's not over, but we will know in a couple of hours. And so on the Facebook event, we'll post the results, and some of us will hang around here afterwards as well. So thanks everybody. It's really something to see so many people out here and united.
Gorilla announcement. Okay, so some people still want to march, right? Yeah. Okay, some people are still going to march. Where is that going to happen? Where are people getting together? 10th and Pine on the West Precinct. Okay, but some people are still curious about this People's Assembly. Whatever you feel like you want to do, that's fine. Because there are a lot of concerns, like the leadership of the no-cop co-op changed in the past 8 hours, and there's just different things about the organization of this space specifically for the people that are here every day and have questions. And it's also an experiment. If the People's Assembly happens today, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's fine. It's like testing the waters. I have a microphone. This sound system is not available to us as a People's Assembly. So I'm just going to be using a megaphone and seeing if other people from yesterday from the People's Assembly will show up today. If not, that's all right. But yeah, hopefully in future days we will have a sound system. This is one of like the things that needs to be worked out, is like scheduling, sound system, organization, actual fucking organization. So if you're invested in like